Jimmy on the beat, boy. Jimmy on the beat, boy. Jimmy on the beat, boy.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the GSN Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, John J. II, here with Connor Matlock and Sam Vitale. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
We are doing just great, John. Excited to talk about some golf. Thanks again for having me on. That's about all I got.
Perfect,
yeah, John,
Sam. How are we doing,
good
man?
To be here. Long time no see, long time no talk. It's got a lot of sports talk to get out of my system here, so I'm excited.
Hey, we're looking forward to it. Yeah, it's been a minute, especially for the GSN pod, too. This is the premier podcast for the entire sports network. So it's something that is a big staple here. It has been a staple for a long time, and we're looking forward to bringing that back to you guys. In the world of golf, we're approaching the 2023 season. We had the Phoenix Waste Management Open. We're going to do some recaps of that here shortly. And we're going to talk about it in depth, but we're also going to talk about the Genesis Invitational, Tiger Woods tweet. We got some stuff. We got some bones to pick with Tiger specifically. So we're looking forward to getting into all the nitty-gritty of it, and we're also going to share some things that we have to expect from ourselves in the world of golf in our own play. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this podcast. We're going to have a lot of fun with this show, and we're glad to have you guys with us on this journey. So let's jump right into it. Let's talk about the Waste Management Open recap. Sam, let me just ask you this. Scottie Scheffler pulls off the win. He's the reigning world number one. He defends his title at TPC Scottsdale. What did he have to do? What barriers did he have to overcome to get this award, to basically say, I'm the world number one and I'm the reigning champ here at TPC Scottsdale in Phoenix? We know that's basically like, it's, I don't know what you'd even call it. It's like the basketball scene or the football scene. It's like the Rose Bowl or the Super Bowl of golf, really. I mean, you're looking at a very rambunctious crowd. You're looking at people that are very happy to be there. Obviously, hole 16 is a very famous hole. What do you have to say about this tournament just as a whole? And then you can talk about Scottie Scheffler in his win.
I think the parallel to the Rose Bowl is perfect. I love that. This tournament's so unique in the sense that it's a party crowd. Just like the Rose Bowl, people love going out to Pasadena for the weather and for the party. And I love that the Phoenix Open, the Phoenix Waste Management Open, gives everybody the chance to kind of experience that same thing. I think it's great that we have that in the golf game. I know Tiger maybe feels differently, but we'll get to that later. But no, I love it. I look forward to it every year. As far as Scottie Scheffler goes, kind of a mixed bag to answer your question. Like you said, defending champion from last year, it's a lot of weight on your shoulders. That's a lot of pressure to come out there and perform. You know, you put up these numbers last year. If you don't do it again this year, just people start talking about how Scottie fell off. Now, the flip side of that coin is that Scottie wasn't talked about that much going into the tournament last week. A lot of the talk was Jon Rahm versus Rory. Who's the real world number one? And I think it was awesome that Scottie just kind of decided to make himself a dark horse in a situation where he should have been in the limelight and just come out on top, world number one and two-time defending champion. I thought it was awesome.
Definitely. Connor, what do you have to say about Scottie Scheffler's win and just the tournament as a whole? Obviously, the Waste Management Open at TPC Scottsdale, it's the closest thing you're going to get to what we called, what we referred to as the Rose Bowl or the Super Bowl or some kind of event that is non-golf like. With the hole 16 there with the stadium hole, it's a different feel. It's a different feel. You got streakers, you got beer being thrown in every direction. People are intoxicated. People are running to the grandstands. It's just a great experience for everybody that can take part in it. What do you have to say about this past week's Waste Management Open, and what can we take away from it?
Yeah, I think it's super interesting. So you kind of alluded to all of it, John, but yeah, the Waste Management Open, just a completely different golf than a non-golf fan might think a professional tournament would look like. So if you're trying to get someone introduced to golf that maybe is just not so interested, doesn't like all the rules, doesn't like all the this, that, the other, this might be the perfect tournament to have them watch for the first time. Not to make them think that this is all how they are, but a little bit of an introduction into what it can be. But just in relation to, I mostly just think it's funny because Scottie Scheffler's personality might be the exact polar opposite of the culture of the Waste Management Open. Scottie Scheffler, quiet guy, down to earth, super nice. Nothing crazy about the guy. He couldn't be any more. He's one of the most calm guys when he plays out on the course. So to have such a tournament that now he's won back-to-back years that kind of is the complete inverse of his personality, just in terms of the craziness, and you say the drinking and the screaming and the beer flying everywhere on hole 16. I guess the clashing of that. It was just kind of funny to me that now this tournament is the one that Scottie's won back-to-back years. It's kind of just fitting that it works out so oppositely, I guess.
It'd be much more fitting if a Joel Damon were to win one of these days. We got screwed out of the hole-in-one on 16 this year. I'd love to see it again. There's nothing like that.
There really isn't. Once you see a hole-in-one on that course in that environment, it's second to none. I mean, I think that embodies where golf is going, or at least where golf should be going in the new era, in the 21st century. I guess we can even say Happy Gilmore, the movie Happy Gilmore, coming out in the 90s, that was before its time, because we're seeing a lot of that, especially in the Phoenix Waste Management Open. We're seeing that more and more, and just bringing the hype to golf while still keeping and this is going to be an everlasting struggle, is keeping the decorum, keeping the fanciness. Because back in the day, golf was only made for the fancy people, the people that were very rich, the people that were very affluent in the community. And now it's became a sport. It's became an American pastime, really, that can be enjoyed by anybody. And I think that there's a meshing of the old and the new when it comes to golf. We definitely see that here in the Phoenix Waste Management Open. We see it displayed very clearly. We didn't get the hole-in-one this year. It was unfortunate, but there's a lot of fireworks. The Canadian Nick Taylor made a great run at it, only staying 2 strokes behind. He had a chance to get to 1 and really make it a fireworks show going down 18 in the final round on Sunday, but he didn't make it happen. So, Scotty ran away with it again. John Rahm sitting there in 3rd, 5 strokes back. So he didn't really have a chance much into Sunday because he had shot himself in the foot severely on Sunday, and he could have made a run. But he didn't do that. And you got to come in clutch. You got to make those putts for birdie or for par if they're out of the realm of making them. 10, 15 footers. You got to make them in certain situations, and Scotty did that, and that's why he pulled away with the win. So we're looking forward. Let's look forward to the Genesis Invitational. So the first thing we got to talk about is the Tiger Woods tweet that was released this week. He said, "I'm ready to play an actual PGA Tour event next week at the Genesis Invitational." He added the Genesis Invitational Twitter account. We see some different things on Tiger Woods' Twitter from time to time, and a lot of it's promotions for his own, his organization and for the foundation, the Tiger Woods Foundation. But we seen shots fired here. Okay, we put a post out. We made the people know that there were shots fired with this statement. He's basically saying the Phoenix Waste Management Open is not an actual PGA Tour event. So I have a bone to pick with that, just because I think it's a PGA sanctioned event. Is it a little bit unorthodox compared to, say, the Masters or the Players or any of those majors that obviously it's not a major. Right, and we're not playing at Riviera. The history really isn't there as much as it is at Riviera, where we're going to see this week. Starting tomorrow, we got a hell of a pairing tomorrow too, involving Tiger, which we'll talk about too. But he hasn't made an appearance since the 2022 British Open. So does he have a lot of room to talk? Sam, I'll start with you. What do you think about this tweet? Do you think this should be taken lightly by the world of golf, or should this be looked at a little closer?
I don't know if it should be taken lightly. I think just like the waste management, kind of causing waves in the PGA Tour by itself with the lack of pageantry and all of the other shenanigans that go on with it. It's good for the game. Attention's good. All press is good. I think Tiger knows that. I think Tiger wanted to stir up some shit, going into the week. And what a better way to do it than cause some controversy with a tweet. Anything to get people talking about it. If people didn't know, they know now that he's playing, and so that can't be missed. And not only did they make a big deal out of the tweet, but now they're capitalizing on it with this grouping that he's got for tomorrow and Friday. So that's going to be really exciting. Overall, I think it was good. I think it was probably a strategic move on his side, and I'm pretty sure the PGA Tour is pleased with that.
Definitely. Connor, what do you got?
Yeah, I think so I have 2 thoughts here, and I'll say I think Tiger Woods is just a great marketer, and I think he probably doesn't mean all that much by it. I mean, the guy wants to win more than anybody. He likes the guys that he competes with, but obviously he's Tiger Woods. He wants to win, but part of me almost thinks that maybe there was a chance he wasn't referring to the Wealth Management Open. Like maybe, and this would just be speculation. Maybe he was saying like, oh yeah, I just want to play in an actual PGA Tour tournament because the last tournament that I played in wasn't really a PGA tournament. It was, the PNC tournament that was the father-son tournament. So maybe that's what he meant. Maybe he meant, okay, that wasn't a real event. The last real event he's played, like you said, is the Open. And so maybe this is like, but I guess I could go either way on what he might have meant by that. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to go with that he probably was firing shots a little bit, but I'll defend him just slightly and say there's potential that wasn't the case.
So Connor's giving him the benefit of the doubt. Interesting take. I can't say that I disagree with you, but it is an interesting take nonetheless. And to give the GOAT himself the benefit of the doubt, I don't think is a bad thing. So it's interesting, but we'll roll with it. We'll run with it. So Tiger Woods, the American phenom, the success story, right? We've seen great things from Tiger Woods. He is a phenom. We've seen it happen even in his advanced years. And we say advanced years, he's only in his mid-40s, right? So we give him the benefit of the doubt. He's battled injuries, battled different things. People are going to be hyped up about it if Tiger Woods is in the conversation, okay? So let's just talk about the pairing for tomorrow. So tomorrow, first round and second round will be Tiger Woods, JT, and Rory McIlroy, all three paired up. That's impressive. That's going to be fireworks. There's going to be, hopefully buckling of seatbelts for people watching this, because it's going to be a hell of a show. There's going to be a lot of fireworks happening, as I alluded to. So we can look forward to that. The Genesis Invitational, obviously, happening at Riviera in the Palisades of California. It's going to be a beautiful tournament. It's a beautiful course. Great superintendent there running that course, and it's going to be a great. We've always seen fireworks happen at Riviera. There's bunkers in the middle of greens at Riviera. So we've seen some crazy things happen. Let's go into expectations. So it's obviously early on. Scottie Scheffler, the world number one, he's looking to make a splash here at Riviera too. He's not going to let anybody kind of say, hey, you won last week. You won, you're back. You won back-to-back at the Waste Management Tournament, Waste Management Open. They're not going to shake that off. Okay? They're going to go for him. Everyone's got Scottie Scheffler's number, I think, at this point. So, Sam, let me ask you this. How does Scottie Scheffler deal with this week's tournament, and also Tiger Woods with his redemption? We've seen him do crazy things. We've seen him come back and win tournaments, win Masters in his advanced years, and do some really crazy things in the world of golf. What can we expect to see with the conditions? Obviously, there was posts everywhere. I saw it all over the place. Tiger Woods is wearing like a winter parka, and he's wearing a beanie. He looks like he's cold. Okay, he looks like he's like, oh my God, what am I doing here, kind of thing. So I don't know. I didn't know if he was going snowboarding or skiing, or if he was going to play golf. So I'm in question there. But what can we expect this week, regardless of who's playing in the tournament? What can we expect out of the course and out of the field?
Out of the course, I don't think you're going to see anything less than we've ever seen. It's going to be beautiful. Regardless of the weather, it's going to be a lot better than it is here. If he's wearing a parka there, I'd like to see what he would wear if he touched down here in Detroit. Between Tiger and Scottie, I think you've got two completely opposite roles here. I think Scottie's got to try to relish in maybe the dim light that he's getting. Like I said last week, he's the defending champ and nobody talked about him. They wanted to see Rory versus Jon Rahm, who's the real world number one. So I think if Scottie wants to keep up the success, I think he's got the path carved out for him. Just, keep staying under everybody's expectations and keep winning the way that he likes to do. And I'm not calling for a Scottie Scheffler win here, but I would not be surprised to see him in the mix on Sunday. I would be surprised to see him finish out of the top 10. As far as Tiger goes, it's going to be the complete opposite. He's not going to be able to avoid all of the press that he gets. I think if you read the comments on any of the PGA Tour social media, throughout the week here, I think you're going to see a lot of people complaining about all the Tiger coverage, the biased Tiger coverage. They're going to say, Tiger's back in 30th place, and there's 10 guys in the within a stroke of first and second place, and all we're doing is watching Tiger. So I think you've got two completely different setups here for two completely different golfers. So it's going to be interesting either way. I can't wait for it. I love to see it. I'll get your opinion. I've actually got a couple of dark horse players here that I want to be on the lookout for that I'll talk about, but I'd like your opinion.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to just playing the field playing at Riviera. It's just a ton of history there. The course, you can't really expect anything less out of the course other than greatness. Crisp greens. It might be a little bit crisp in the air, but you're going to have to deal with that. You're going to have to roll with the punches in that regard. So I'm expecting nothing but greatness out of the course. Now the field, you bring up Tiger Woods. I bring up Tiger Woods. We talk about Tiger Woods, where he's actually back into the mix. You think he leaves the game of golf for a good amount of time, plays with his son Charlie, and they make a splash in the father-son event. And then now he's back. He goes out of the fold. Now he's back into the fold quickly. Now, I think a question that has to be asked, and I'll ask Connor this one. Does Tiger Woods make the cut into the weekend or no?
Yeah. So I think what's interesting, so if for anyone that doesn't know how they schedule these tournaments, typically when your tee time on a Thursday is going to be earlier in the day, and then on Friday it's going to be later in the day, or if you're later on Thursday, you're going to have an earlier tee time on Friday. So typically Tiger, they generally do this with older players, but so Tiger being an older player, a lot of times he'll get a Thursday morning round and a Friday evening round to give him more time between playing. What's interesting about this one is he did not get that treatment, and so he has I think a 3:00 tee time tomorrow, and it'll be sometime in the mid morning, I imagine, 10:04 on Friday, and so I would say don't overlook that part of it. Tiger's routine on taking care of himself has become quite extensive. If you follow, it's no longer the 4-mile run followed by the 8 hours of playing followed by the 2 hours of lifting. Now it's the 2 hours of stretching followed by the 3 hours of sleeping, followed by the therapy sessions and what have you. So I would just say don't overlook that piece of it. That being said, I think we're going to see a Tiger Woods that plays some pretty decent golf. The course he's played the course a lot historically. I can't recall if he's won at the Genesis, but he's certainly played here plenty, so he's familiar. I'm gonna say, and this probably doesn't buck the trend, but I'm gonna say that he will make the cut. I don't know how you guys feel. I'm gonna personally say he will make the cut. I think the odds are that he definitely doesn't, depending on where it falls. If people are going really low and the cut falls somewhere is like 2 under, maybe not. But if it can hang around even par +1 or something, maybe there's a chance for him to make it. That being said, I certainly put money on Tiger to finish in the top 10. So
I'm gonna be crushed if he's not there on Sunday.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be crushed. I
what do you
love
think?
watching him compete. It's a mixed bag. I mean, I don't know what to expect from the guy other than he's going to show up with a fire to compete. Like Connor said, the last time he played on TV at least was the PNC. Not exactly a real event, playing there with Charlie, but I thought one thing that was interesting, Connor, like you had mentioned the tee times. He's got the late tee times on Thursday and the early one on Friday. I wonder if he had to give a little to take a little, because if you don't know out there that JT and Rory are two of Tiger's closest friends on the tour. JT is by Charlie calls him, his older brother, and Rory's pretty much like Uncle Rory. So I wonder if he had to give up the times to golf with the guys that he wants to golf with. I'd bet at this point in his career he kind of gets to call those shots as to who his playing partners are.
I completely agree. I almost wondered that too, if it has something to do with, it's certainly not a coincidence he's playing with JT and Rory. I mean, they know what they're doing when they're scheduling these tee times. I also think 3:00 in the afternoon gives a lot of people a chance after work to at least watch them play their second 9. I think that definitely plays into it also versus them on a 10 a.m. tee time. Most people aren't going to be able to keep up on it too much outside of just checking on ESPN. But it would be interesting to see how much pull he really has with the tour, because I'm sure it's quite incredible.
It'll come out one day. We'll find that out.
Yeah, it'll come out in the classified documents of the PGA Tour.
He'll be the commissioner soon enough.
Oh, well, that's probably not even a joke.
Right.
No.
There's no doubt he has some pull. I think he had something to do with the pairing of Rory and JT being in his group. Obviously, there's very close friendship there. And, a man of Tiger Woods' stature is going to have that kind of pull. And it might not come out in the mainstream media that he does have that kind of pull, or that's how those pairings were made. But let's face it, he's taking shots on Twitter. He's going for the throat, basically, to everybody watching him, everybody that hasn't been able to watch him since the father-son event, and then previous to that, the Open, the British Open. So he's going to come back. He's coming back. He's looking to make a splash. Okay, he's looking for a revamp, and he has that ability to leave and then say, all right, you know what? I think I'm ready to go play a tournament. Let's go back. I'm going to get prepped up. Give me a couple weeks, and then I'm heading my ass over to the Palisades, and we're going to play some Highlands golf at Riviera. That's the kind of power he has in the world of golf. Okay, and I think that's what retains. And we're kind of going off track here, but I want to make sure I go over this before we get into our final topic. Is that really retains the value for the PGA Tour as a whole. You see so many golfers, really big names, going over to Live Golf, playing for the Saudi Arabian controversial, ran by Greg Norman, previous PGA Tour guy, big shot. And, we've heard a lot of things about Live Golf, and they're about to start their 2023 season. They're bringing on some new guys. And that just retains the value. With Tiger Woods still being a part of the PGA Tour, you got big names like JT, you got Jordan Spieth, you got Rory, you got Jon Rahm, you got countless other guys that are really retaining that core. And I think with all these other big names that have left for Live Golf, those guys, they are only making it and giving better opportunities for those that are loyal to the PGA Tour to stay and to thrive and succeed. Maybe the money isn't there in the millions, the tens of millions, but they're looking at more of a legacy. They're looking at it from a legacy standpoint. And I respect that to a much larger degree than just jumping ship, going overseas and saying, all right, I'm going to do this just for the money. We'll go to the team format. I just think that kind of ruins the entire mentality of golf. Sam, let me ask you this. How does Tiger staying with the PGA Tour and talking so poorly, talking down upon, him and others talking down upon Live Golf, how does that strengthen the PGA Tour, and how does that keep it a world-class organization?
I think the strength comes from the way that they play. I think the better that the PGA Tour players perform, I think the better their comments will age about that. There's a lot to live up to, though, with all the trash talking. You just talked about Live players jumping ship. The champion of this tournament last year was Joaquin Niemann, and now he's over there with Live. So this tournament, I wouldn't say has been run by Live players in the past. Absolutely not. But I mean, see if we can outscore his round from last year when he won. So we'll see about that. I think you can look at the world golf rankings and determine which tour is better. Dustin Johnson just dropped out of the top 50 for the first time in 15 years, I think it is, something like that. So it's not holding up that well. We'll see how it plays out. You had alluded to the whole team format. I can probably do it because it's fitting. They play at a lot of Trump courses. The team format, what a disaster. It's just, what a joke. I mean, that's ridiculous. Good. It's like if we played baseball, but there's no teams, it's just individual. There's a pitcher versus the batter, no teams. I mean, what the hell is that? It's a joke that, and they didn't have a TV contract last year. It was impossible to watch. The logos and the team names are some shit like the Thrashers, and they got like a cocaine teddy bear as their mascot. I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. I don't have too many nice things to say. Again, if they weren't in team format, I probably wouldn't feel so weird about it. It's strange. If you ever watch the broadcast, it's weird. So that's my opinion of it. I don't know. I don't know if those players will ever come back. I think the whole can they play in the major tournaments has just been a pain in the ass to listen to all the media about that. I don't care. I almost love to see a real tournament where we've got Live versus PGA Tour players. Phil Mickelson put out a tweet, was it last year, where he said, I don't know, it was the equivalent of we'd mercy them or something, which is incredibly out of pocket, especially for somebody as washed up as Phil Mickelson to say. And that hurts. Yeah. That hurts for me. Phil Mickelson was one of those guys who got us into the game. Him and Tiger, Ernie Els. I mean, those guys, BJ Singh. I mean, that was like the prime group when we were coming up, just learning about golf. And so to watch these guys kind of turn into scrubs and then talk shit is weird. But that's my take.
Connor, what do you got about Live Golf and just Tiger staying with the PGA Tour that keeps the core of the PGA Tour and its makeup together? And then obviously you have big shots like Phil Mickelson, Dustin Johnson, like Sam mentioned, over there at Live. So you do have a good core of guys, but since they jumped ship and went to Live just for the money grab, that takes away a little bit from their legacy and from their resume. I guess, what do you have to say about Live Golf in its current state? Yeah,
well, I think in relation to Live, I don't think it's it was a strategic move to have Greg Norman be, not only the spokesperson, Greg Norman seems to everyone before the fact a super, he wears the cowboy hat, the most American of American guys. Everyone loves him. Fun guy to root for. And so that is a great face for Liv for people who typically would be like, okay, well, I'm not going to watch something that's, a golf organization that takes place outside of the country, especially somewhere like Saudi Arabia. I don't want anything to do with the Middle East. So of course, none of those people are showing their faces. It's Greg Norman, like I said, just like a Western gunslinger sort of guy. That now is the face for that. So I think that don't overlook that. I think that's super strategic. But in relation to Tiger and him, being with the PGA Tour, I never would have given it much thought that he would ever consider Liv, and I doubt he has. I'm sure there's, I think I heard something in the neighborhood of $1 billion he had been offered, and for somebody like Tiger Woods, I think the is as insane amount of money as that is. Even relative to his net worth, it's still an insane amount of money. I still think the opportunities for him in the PGA Tour over the longer term probably far outweigh that now. So I think he not only looks at it as a long-term thing, but for him, it's like he's also already accomplished pretty much everything that anyone would ever want to accomplish as a golfer on the PGA Tour. And of course, he wants to do more and win more, and that's great. But would that not put a sour taste in everyone's mouth if it was like, oh yeah, Tiger Woods, everyone's favorite golfer of all time, now switches over to Live Golf. I know for me personally, that would certainly make me feel quite differently about him. So yes, I think him staying with the PGA Tour, of course, not only he is the brand for the PGA Tour, and was for a lot of years, and in a lot of ways still is. So keeping him and like you mentioned, at least some of the core guys over the last 5 years, I think is huge. But there's been other golf organizations in the past, certainly none that have poached as many top players as Liv, and simply for the fact that they're offering more money than anyone ever has. But I still just struggle to see how sustainable it'll be without any sort of like if there's not if the people watching, if there's not, they're investing so much right up front. It'll just be interesting to see over the course of course they'll be able to survive for 2, 3, 4, probably 5, probably 10 years. I'm sure. I don't know what how much money they got, but if people aren't watching, if people don't find it interesting, if players start to care about their legacy a bit more, and they're like, actually, I think the PGA Tour offers a lot more than Liv does over the long term, then I guess we'll see where that goes. But I'll pause there.
Listen, we're going to have a whole show on Live Golf because it's just something that has to be talked about. It's something that was unforeseen by executives at the PGA Tour. It was unforeseen by viewers of golf. Just, PGA Tour was golf. That's professional golf. Seeing Live come along and kind of threaten that, obviously has ruffled the feathers of executives at the PGA Tour. Then you got guys, and this is the last thing I'll say about it, you got guys from Live that say, hey, we still want to play in majors. We still want to play for a green jacket in Augusta. How do you battle that? So, we're going to have a lot to talk about going forward. We don't have enough time today to dive into Live Golf and the PGA Tour and the feud regarding both of these organizations, but we will in the future show. So look forward to that. Let's move on to the self-reflection period of the podcast. So I want to ask you guys a couple questions, very simple questions, very open-ended, no wrong answers. We'll start with Sam, then we'll transition to Connor. I want to hear, what are you guys aiming to accomplish in your own golf game in the world of golf, playing golf, setting up, preparing for a day of golf, whether it's a tournament, whether it's an outing, whether it's a two-man scramble like the GSN Challenge. What are we looking for to succeed in, to get better at? Just in golf, what are we looking for in our own golf games going into 2023? Sam, I'll start with you.
I've got some very specific goals. Connor and I play in the same league on Wednesday nights, a little fun track called Oak Lane in Weberville. I've got some big personal goals there. Team goals too. Connor, you'll like this. We got a place in that A bracket this year. We've been in the lower half of the bracket for the last 2 years. We've only been in this league 2 years, but little backstory about the league. I won't go on about it, but you've got 72 guys in this league. It's the biggest league I've ever heard of. I don't know about anybody else, but 72 guys. We've got, what would that be? 18 teams of four. Pretty competitive format by handicap. And as a team, kind of fallen short the last couple of years. So I'm hoping we make a big push. I know Connor and I can do that, just shaving a couple strokes off of our handicap, which we seem to do every single year. So I'm looking forward to that. Personally, though, we kind of got a FedEx Cup system going on with that league, Player of the Year. My goal for last season was just to place somewhere on the second page of that. 2 pages, one side for the lower 38 or 36, one side for the upper. I probably finished dead last in the first year. My goal last season was to finish somewhere on that other page, so top 36. I think I ended up 6th. At one point, I was tied for second, just a few points back off of the leader, who I beat in our straight up match. So that needs to be known. But yeah, this year, going for gold. I want that first place. I wasn't too far off last year. I think it probably got ruined by a couple rounds fueled with too many Miller Lights. So I already know the formula now. A few less Miller Lights, a few more protein shakes out there, and that'll really help. That's the biggest one. Second biggest one, my country club's championship. I want a place in that. Top 10 for the country club makes the Ryder Cup team. We're going to go play Eagle Eye Country Club in a Ryder Cup event. Top 10 in our club championship, top 10 in their club championship. Square off in a home and away. That's something I can't miss. If you've never played Eagle Eye, I've never played Eagle Eye. One of the best courses in the state. If you Googled golf trips in Michigan, all these websites, all these bloggers will tell you got to start in Bath, Michigan with Eagle Eye and Hawk Hollow, and then you move your way up north, but you got to start there. So if you didn't know, they've got a complete replica of TPC Sawgrass's 17 par 3 island green. It's designed by Pete Dye, so same guy who made TPC Sawgrass. It's a complete replica down to the 1/4 inch. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know exactly what that means, but it's the same damn thing. So I've got to get a chance to play that this year. How about you, Connor? Goals for you?
Yeah, so Sam and I probably had the most opposite past 2 years in the golf league. So the first year we did it would have been the summer of 2021. And so just first year being in the league, didn't have too much of a goal. I think I was playing off like a 6 handicap for most of the year, and I was my main goal. I was just like, all right, well, hopefully the team does well. I didn't even quite understand the Player of the Year at the time, how any of that really worked. Somebody said something about it. I was like, I don't even know what that means. And so it became apparent to me that I actually had somewhat of a chance to win it within probably with about a month remaining. I think I was in the top 10. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'll just try and keep playing good, I guess. And was able to do that. And yeah, finished somewhere in the top 5, I think. And so that was great. And that was a year I didn't really have a goal on it. This past year, I was like, okay, well, I finished like 5th last year in it. Again, of like 72 guys. I'm like, okay, well, if I can just finish top 15 again, I think that's pretty good. And I had probably the most horrific start to the season ever. Got just playing bad and whatever. And so just playing catch up throughout the year. Probably finished somewhere in the mid 40s for the thing. So the year that I don't have a goal, it pays off, and the year that I do, it doesn't. So I guess my lesson going forward is I won't have a goal this year, and I guess that'll just have me finish top 5. But no, I think personally, just in terms of golf game, I think like I said last year, and I pretty much played off like a 6 or 7. Probably want to improve that by at least a couple. My main thing is like strictly, it's going to come down to putting. Short game's all right, chipping, putting, pitching, but it comes down to limiting the 3 putts for me. That's where these matches seem to be won and lost a lot of times. Being able to make a few more 8-10 footers probably saves a few pars. Maybe make a birdie here or there, turns a few bogeys. instead of double bogeys. It's definitely going to be the putter for me. Of course, everything is important, but in terms of a total score, that's where it's going to come down to whether or not I'm actually going to be able to improve as much as I want to this year.
Connor, just knowing you and your golf game and how you are, I think you kind of probably hit the nail on the head there with maybe no specific goals about placing in the league. You and I are just different that way, man. You're calm and you're cool. You're at your best when you're that way. I pull up into the parking lot blasting no interviews by Lil Durk. I got a damn tear in my eye thinking I'm going to kill this guy, whoever I'm playing. And it gets awkward when I show up and I check out the schedule. I'm like, oh shit, I'm playing Connor's Uncle Bill. I guess I got to tone it down. But it's different competitors that way, man. You're a lot better when you're cool.
We're different that way, but it's it still works out. There's still a way that we're both playing our best golf.
Yeah, thank God we're playing on the same team again.
No kidding.
Very important stuff. Yeah, you got to scale out your opponents. So I'm in a league here in Flushing. I play, Flushing Valley. Monday Night Misfits is what it's called. So I want to be able to be dialed in for that. And that's you guys bring up a good point. Being able to scale your opponents, because you got to be able to handle the opponents. Play the player, not the cards. So don't play the game, play the players. But you still have to kind of circle back. You got to play your own game regardless of who you're playing. So that's why golf is so complicated, but that's what makes it so fun is there's so many different variables that can be thrown into it. You can talk about the actual golf-related variables, and you can talk about the non-golf-related variables. So for me, I want to be able to dial in my driver, really got my driver dialed in towards the end of the 2022 season. And I was happy with what I was doing there. I usually go either driving iron or 4 or 5 iron off of the tee. Most, even on par 5s, I would do that. Hit my irons pretty good. It's probably my strongest suit of my game. And then obviously getting up and down, tough pars, being able to make those, like Connor said, 10, 15 footers for par even. Those win and lose matches. And you have qualifying weeks where you got to make it within a certain score, and then you've got to count on your teammate quite a bit too. For placement for A and B. So there's a lot of different things. There's different things that happen on different weeks, but playing your own game, really limiting the damage. It's really managing damage. And that's what golf is. If you had to say it in 2 words, it's managing damage. So if you can do that in the best way possible, in whatever part of the game you're talking about, whether it's short game, pitching, putting, mid-range irons, 3 woods, getting off the tee box, whatever you kind of break it down to, as long as you can manage the damage, especially in your weak suits, that's the most important thing about golf. So I'm looking to benefit in a lot of those areas, really dial in the driver even more than I was in 2022, do the same thing in 2023, and then I think we can all work on our putter a little bit more, getting around the greens, getting up and down, and just moving on to the next tee box as quickly as possible with a score that we feel good about. And, you got to take every hole one at a time. I'm spitting some big knowledge for the people listening to this. You got to take everything one hole at a time. The round can end in one hole if you let it. But if you don't let that happen, you can move on and you can kind of forget about the last hole. You'll be in a better place, regardless if you birdied it or regardless if you tripled it. Because you got to be able to move on and continue the play, to continue the match, essentially. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned. We'll be spitting a lot of these lessons out into the waves of the podcast world as this podcast grows and develops in the world of golf. So I'm looking forward to diving into all these different sections of golf because it's one of my favorite pastimes ever, as I can see it is too with both of my co-hosts here, Connor and Sam. It's just a great game. It's a great pastime. If you've never golfed before, pick up a club, get a cheap set, just get on a range and just work on ball striking, work on hitting the ball, and then try to get some friends around you that can give you pointers along the way. Watch some YouTube videos, listen to this podcast, another great thing you can do, and you'll see yourself succeed. It's very satisfying. It's very self-gratifying when you see yourself succeed and crush the goals that you're anticipating to crush going into a new season. So I'm looking forward to all that stuff. And it's going to be a great year, man. We're going to get out there. We're also going to revive the Corona Cup series where it's kind of a Ryder Cup series, 2v2, 2-man scramble type format. And it's very interesting too. We might even do some solo match play events as well that are filmed and will be posted to the Gin Pros YouTube channel. So look forward to all that stuff. It's very electrifying. There's shit talking. There's shotgunning of Miller Lights, drinking out of the Corona Cup itself, and it's a season-long battle. So looking forward to all that stuff, guys. But we'll start to wrap it up here soon. I'll start with Sam, and then we'll move on to Connor. Final statements for the people going forward.
Final statements. I'd say watch out for me at the Corona Cup this year. It'll be my first year, but I'll be out there for blood. Competing in golf is my favorite thing to do. I'm just trying to find more tournaments to compete in, more ways to compete, even a couple more leagues if I could. So I'm looking forward to that. All the competition, the scrambles, solo play, all of it. So count me in.
It's going to be a blast, man. Looking forward to it. And it's going to be a great year. Looking forward to great weather. We already seen the weather break a little bit here in the mid-Michigan area. It's giving me the itch. It's giving me, the wind is crazy. We're talking about gale force winds. I mean, nightmare winds. If you're going to be out there on the course playing in these conditions, you got some weather going on still. We're not out of the woods with winter yet, but we're getting glimpses of, the grass. And it's like, wow, could I play golf today? You kind of have those thoughts kind of trickle through your mind, and that's a battle in and of itself, is saying, okay, yeah, I know I got some stuff I got to do, but we have great weather. And I would really love to go out and play 9, and that's a battle in and of itself. Totally irrelevant to golf specifically, but just kind of, time management and saying, hey, can I get a round in, or should I handle some more important business? It's a season-long battle. But Connor, what do you got for a final statement to leave the people with?
Final statement. I liked what you said, John. I think anybody listening that hasn't played golf before, that has any mild interest, should jump into it. I think something as simple as, just starting, hitting only a pitching wedge, hitting something with a little bit of loft, maybe something a little bit easier. Just work on it doesn't have to be intimidating. You can go up to the range. You can have a pair of shorts and a t-shirt on. It doesn't matter. You don't need to wear anything special. Go to the range, learn how to hit a few balls. If you find it interesting, maybe consider getting a lesson by someone. If you really like that, maybe get a couple more. And you feel free to hit the course. It doesn't have to be super intimidating. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. So, that's all I would really add.
Good stuff. Yeah, we're looking forward to this season and everything that these guys and everybody on our team can accomplish this year in the world of golf. Golf is something that is a staple that GSN was originally built on. So we're looking forward to all of it, and we're going to dive deeper into a lot of different golf-related topics. We've got some majors coming up, which we're going to talk about, too, on this show as well, and we're excited about every single bit of it. So join us, stay with us along this journey that we have embarked on, and take this ride with us. But for now, we'll leave it at that. Make sure to check out our website, ginsportsnetwork.com, for all of our articles, IG posts, and updates. Get us on social media as well, on our link tree. To find us on social media everywhere, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, you name it. It is all in the link tree in the bottom of this podcast. So be sure to check all that stuff out. But for now, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us on the GSN Sports Network podcast. I'm John J. II, joined with Sam Vitale and Connor Matlock. Have a great night.